tell me about the C squared. You got culture in there. That seems obvious. The leadership and the people. Love that. Talk to me about choosing your customers, because it's not uncommon to come into an organization where we're trying to help on sales performance, sales process, but just getting more cohesion, less friction, to choose better customers. And when we talk to some of the sales reps about who they're targeting, how they're making progress, and some of this cost to serve, do we enjoy servicing this type of customer? I will hear one, list or cast of characters, and then I'll talk to leadership. And they're like, who's chasing them? I'm like, Dan, I just talked to him at this location. And there's somehow there's miscommunication there. So I think it's really powerful that in this formulas, you get to choose your customers.
Right.
I think sometimes we forget that. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So everyone chases the giant customer, right? Everyone wants those big dollars and knock it out of the park. And I think you heard Jim on a podcast and previously talk about the gazelles, right?
Yes.
There's only very few gazelles.
Yep.
But to choose your customer, you have to define what your gazelle looks like.
Yeah.
Right. And we want customers that are going to partner with us, that are going to, drive the business with us and not be in a bid and spec every single time, but understand what we bring to the table. And our people drive the service, and they drive the customer experience. And it goes back to that Cowboys versus Buccaneers thing, right?
Okay. Yep.
So there's a couple of customers that they're huge. They could significantly change our business, but we're not going to chase them because they're hard to deal with. They nitpick every single thing, and they look at you as a vendor, not a partner.
Okay.
And that's just on our game. If you want to come in with us and sit down, and we're worth more, depending on the customer, that we quantify it a little bit differently. And we do a cost to serve analysis. And part of my role is making sure that our cost to serve customers are all positive net customers. At the end of the day, we all need to make money, right? And we need to make money to be able to support our customers. They make money to support their customers, and it's all interlinked. But there's nothing wrong with sitting down with the customer and say, hey, on every order, I either make or lose X amount of dollars on you.
Right.
And if I'm losing money on you, I can continue to service you. And most of the times when we have those conversations with folks, our peers there, say, what do you mean? And one customer said, we were issuing about 10 to 15 invoices per truckload. He's like, why don't we just give that on one PO and one shipment? I'm like, I don't know. That's a great question. That would help us significantly, right?
Right.
So he figured out, and he found a lot of disorganization in his company. It helped them. It helped us. We went together, and now they're one of our best customers.
Yeah.
So
I've had that experience multiple times when I was in purchasing.
Right.
I've been in the field with Pulte, and some suppliers would come in or partners would come in. They would sometimes give you the harsh truth.
Right.
And you realize that sometimes maybe you didn't like the feedback, but they helped make you better.
Right.
So yeah, totally understand that. Before we move on, I want to jump back to this leadership. So you got leadership, you got people, you got culture and customers. And I like this because you kind of start off by saying everybody looks at the results. However, the results come about when you have like these leading measures, right? They're already in there. If you focus on leadership and people, culture and customers, good things just happen. Talk to me about leadership, and are there any specific behaviors or processes that you have in your role of making the selection or attracting and recruiting leadership? Because I've had this conversation specifically about you when I didn't know you, probably 4 years ago with Jim.
Really?
Where he had identified you and had talked about you in general, never mentioned your name, and said, there's this guy, he's perfect to lead the company, he's not ready yet. And he just stayed with it and stayed with it and stayed with it. So I feel like, at least in sample size of one with you, I know Jim's process was patient and slow,
right,
and go after the talent. What is your process for selecting as you build New South to the next level, understanding that the first letter in here is leadership?
Number one, we just went through a reorganization where we pushed decision-making closer to the field.
Okay.
So we instilled 3 market presidents.
Oh, you did?
One of them is a gentleman named Steve Melton, who's one of our top salesmen who was killing it.
Yes.
And Steve built that team, right? So when I met Steve, all the core talents are there, right? And here you go, it's your ship, it's up to you. And he's taken that and he's just accelerating. The results that he and his team are delivering are just ridiculous.
Okay.
Now, these other 2 market president roles, I've interviewed over 85 people for them. And I am ridiculously picky in who I put on the team, even to interview, because number one, like I said, the people I put on the team is one of my most important roles. Number 2, it's not a God-given right to work in New South, right? Leading the great folks we have, is pretty important. So I go through a rigorous measure of, number one, looking at their background, where they came from. Number two, doing some homework on them, and being in the industry for 23 years, we've all got good contacts. But number three, my perception is only one data point. So I have them interview with the entire leadership team and some of their direct reports, and it's collaboration. Because I could have a great guy that's coming on board, that's data-driven, customer-centric, knows how to run a P&L, knows how to lead, but if he's got a personality conflict with the team, it's never going to work.
Right.
And then we obviously go through a battery of culture assessments, which are big.
Okay.
But number one is just knowing, humbleness, right? People, I think you and I talked about it. It's all about ego, right? Everyone gets on board, or everyone gets off the ship, and it's the leaders we have at every level of the organization drive that.
So, of the 85, have you selected? Are you over 85 right now?
I've got 4 in play.
You got 4 in play.
Yeah, I've got 4 in play, and it's been a long couple months.
Yeah.
Right?
So tell me about the time management there, because often we'll hear, hey, there's no talent in the market, we can't find people, and I'll say, just curious, and this could be a GM at a branch level, or this could be a CEO, and I say, just curious, for your own time management, how much time do you allocate daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly for this talent attraction, recruiting, whatever? And oftentimes they're like, it's a good question, Bradley. We don't know.
Yeah.
Now, I have the sense of that you do have time allocated for this. How do you think about that? Does it change, or do you say this percentage of my time for the year consistently, I should always be looking, because the L and the L times P times C squared equals results. That's the first one there. How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I dedicate about 6 hours a week to it.
6 hours a week. Okay.
Yeah. So no matter what, and like you were speaking in yesterday, at the end of the week, I got to look back.
Okay.
And I do mine on Thursday nights.
Okay.
Because I know Friday is my recovery day. And if I haven't put enough time into it, I'm jumping onto it on a Friday and getting everything done.
Okay.
Clearly, it's either way too much or not enough if I've got 85 people come through. But to me, that's important, right? You can have the right P, you can have the right C squared.
Yep.
But you have a 0 with that L, you're done.
Right.
You kill everything. And we're fortunate that our teams have really executed this year, and we're on track to double in size this year from last year. So
that is crazy.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. But if you look at that, they've done that without that L. And if I put the right L in there, that's just going to accelerate even more. So.
Tell me about your recovery day. How do you have certain days are for certain general activities? My mind is spinning right now because I often struggle, and I generally do it Friday, but I can't do it on the weekends. If I start thinking about work on the weekends, I'm not mentally present for the kids and the wife and all that stuff. Friday's your recovery day. You assess your week Thursday evening?
Thursday before I leave the office.
You do? Okay.
About 4:30, 5 o'clock, I start reviewing that. What did I accomplish this week?
Okay.
What should I accomplish that I didn't?
Yep.
And that goes to the top list for Friday.
Okay.
And then Friday is my day. As much as we travel, my wife loves it because I think I've been gone 25 out of the last 35 nights. So she's, That's why, I got to do something nice when I get home. But Fridays, I have a call with all my direct reports, 1 hour weekly catch-ups. And between those is when I try to catch up on my recovery day. And then as much as I shouldn't, I do use my weekends.
Yeah.
So I'm normally up about 5 o'clock in the morning during the weeks and about 6 o'clock on the weekends.
Okay.
From 6 to about 8, when my family gets up, is when I get everything done.
Yeah.